For sinister tales of cursed children, unexplained secrets revealed, terrifying truths exposed. In Maplewood, Ohio, where once the sun set gently behind the quaint houses of cherry blossoms and picket fences, a sinister shadow unfurled. The town, known for its friendly smiles and laughter, now whispered dark tales. Children went missing, vanished like haunting echoes amidst laughter and innocent play. Sarah, a single mother, struggled to maintain normalcy with her kids, Lily and Ben, but unease had seeped into their lives like rain through a cracked window. Lily's laughter, once bright as tinsel, had dimmed into a shadowy silence. It was the doodles that first caught Sarah's attention, grotesque faces with hollow eyes littered across the living room table, stark against the cozy backdrop of home. Meanwhile, Ben had taken to talking in hushed tones to his imaginary friend, Tommy, late into the night. Whether laughter or terror lay in those quiet whispers, Sarah couldn't tell, but an icy dread curled around her heart each time she heard him speak. The air grew heavy with something unexplainable, twisted, strange. Then, there were the evenings awakened by ominous sounds. Scratches on walls, whispers through the trees, and soft thumps that made Sarah grip her blanket tighter. The wind howled, wrapping around her home like a shroud, stifling her attempts to push away the creeping horror. When the rumors of the abandoned Elm Crest Elementary School resurfaced, they fanned her fears into a flame, its haunted hallways, the dark history of children who disappeared, children just like Lily and Ben. Driven by unsettling impulses, Sarah ventured into the attic one rainy evening. Dust motes danced in the stale air as she rummaged through forgotten boxes, finally uncovering an old book, its pages brittle and laden with strange sketches of the abandoned school. Each stroke of charcoal whispered secrets of rituals performed each Halloween under a waning moon. Chills raced down her spine as she read about the curse-warning signs of a darkness buried within Maplewood, ignited by the very children she adored. Unease turned to desperation. Days bled into nights as the friendly smiles of her neighbors became masks, their guilt palpable. Their eyes darted away when she approached, whispers hanging in the air like fog that wouldn't lift. She tried to reach out to the mothers, those who shared coffee and playdates, but they recoiled at her questions. Their dismissals sharpened with a chilling urgency. "It's just children's imagination," they say. But Sarah felt the hairs on her arms stand at attention, her gut screaming that something was smashing against the calm surface of their lives. And then the conversations grew darker. Ben's whispers with Tommy revealed shadows of Sarah's past, unraveling in unnerving detail. His voice, once innocent, transformed into something chilling. She lay in bed, heart racing, nerves taut as stretched wire. The candle flickered beside her, and the shadows danced across the ceiling, reminding her of the carved pumpkin resting on the street, eyes glowering in the twilight. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As Halloween drew closer, the streets once painted with laughter now twisted under a shroud of apprehensive anticipation. Jack-o'-lanterns sat like sentinels, their hollow eyes glowing with malevolence. The news blasted warnings and drowned the community in old tragedies rising from the dark recesses beneath their feet. Sarah knew she was losing grip on her children. They were not the same. The joy she once treasured had been siphoned away, leaving behind hollow, twisted remnants. Driven by fear, Sarah's heart thundered as she made her way back outside. The whispers from the shrouded town danced behind her, echoing in her mind. What dark truth lay hidden in the shadows of the school? As the evening grew deeper and the moon hung low, casting distorted shadows, Sarah felt time slipping away. The carved pumpkin's hollow gaze felt like a prophecy shrouded in mist. What lay at the heart of Elm Crest Elementary? Would she uncover the truth before Halloween released its chilling grip? The night deepened, settling over Maplewood like a thick fog. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine, as if the very darkness were alive, watching, waiting. Each breath reminded her of the ancient stories that bound the town, tales of children who vanished only to resurface as shadows in the night, filled with whispers of secrets too dark to comprehend. Desperation clawed at Sarah. She had to know. With determination hardening her resolve, she set her eyes on Elm Crest Elementary, its reputation festering like an open wound. The once friendly school stood empty, a hulking reminder of what had been lost. A faint light flickered within her as she approached, illuminating the fallen leaves that crunched beneath her hesitant steps. The surrounding trees loomed overhead, their twisted branches clawing at the moonlight, stretching like gnarled fingers toward her. As she reached the entrance, the door creaked open on rusty hinges. Shadows flickered inside, lending an eerie invitation. "Lily? Ben?" She called, hoping against hope they would answer. Silence enveloped her, cold and oppressive. She stepped inside, the musty scent of decay mingling with the sharp tang of something distinctly wrong. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears, a steady reminder of her fragility. Navigating the hallways felt like walking through a forgotten world. Paper and debris littered the ground, remnants of laughter trapped in time. The air buzzed with a tension that prickled at her skin. As she moved deeper into the building, her thoughts collided with memories of her children. Images of their playful smiles instantly shifted to lifeless stares, far too familiar. Suddenly, she heard a faint giggle, echoing down the corridor. Her stomach dropped. Ben? Lily? Panic surged through her as she followed the sound, fingers brushing against the peeling wallpaper, remnants clinging like wisps of forgotten joy. The giggle morphed into a series of whispers, rising and falling like a tide. Her heart raced as she stepped into the art room, walls covered with faintly sinister doodles, much like Lily's. There, sprawled across a table, was a tattered doll with hollow eyes, unsettlingly similar to the figures she had been seeing in her daughter's drawings. The room felt alive, suffused with a palpable energy that left her breathless. "What are you doing here?" A voice echoed from the shadows, crisp yet soft like crunching leaves. Sarah spun around to see Ben standing in the doorway, a tint of mischief dancing in his wide eyes. "Tommy says you shouldn't be here." "Tommy?" Sarah's voice trembled as she stepped toward him. "We need to go home. Now." But Ben's face changed, the innocence washed away as he glanced over his shoulder. "Tommy told me it's too late." "They're waiting." Her pulse quickened. "Who's waiting?" Before he could answer, the shadows around them shifted, dark forms coalescing across the walls. The air turned icy, and Sarah knew whatever darkness lurked within this school was hungry. She grabbed Ben's hand, turning to flee, but the doorway vanished, replaced with walls of swirling shadow. She pulled him close. "We can't stay here." Panic gripped her as the whispers grew louder, echoing her thoughts with a haunting clarity. Images of the missing children flashed before her, their faces twisted in silent screams. A sharp laughter pierced through, winding around her heart like a vice. "Mom, I want to play." Ben's voice turned to a chilling echo. "Tommy said you'd be scared." The shadows surged forward, and Sarah's screams echoed against the walls, swallowed by the thick veil of darkness. Just as the whispers began to drown out her voice, she felt a cold touch at her back, the sensation of tiny fingers curling around her waist, pulling her deeper into the unknown. "Help me!" she gasped, as terror clawed at her throat. But there was only laughter now, low, cruel, full of promises yet to unfold what awaited them in those reluctant depths. Would she be able to snatch her children from the jaws of this darkness, or would they, too, join the missing echoes of Maplewood? The shadows wrapped around Sarah like a suffocating shroud, and the chilling laughter echoed in her ears, pushing her deeper into panic. She clutched Ben's hand tighter, expecting at any moment for him to vanish again, swallowed by the darkness. "We need to move," she cried, pulling him toward the fading glimmer that flickered from somewhere deep within the tangled corridors. "Mom, listen!" His voice wavered, barely above a whisper, drowned out by the cruel laughter that danced along the walls. "Tommy says we can't go." "Tommy isn't real, Ben. We have to go." But as she turned, the scene began to twist. The long hallway seemed to pulse and shift, endless in its blackness. The art room faded behind them, walls closing in like a predator. Each time Sarah thought she found a way out, another dark corridor appeared, swallowing her hope. The whispers became louder, filling her head with a cacophony of tense voices. "Help us. Join us. Stop it," she shouted. "Leave us alone." Suddenly, from the shadows emerged figures small and spectral. They materialized one by one, each wearing the same hollow expressions, eyes wide but empty. Children, no older than Lily and Ben, faces twisted in fear and longing. "Help us," one child moaned, reaching an ashen hand toward her. "No, no, no." Sarah recoiled, pulling Ben closer. "You're not real." The harsh truth began to settle like a stone in her stomach. This wasn't just a nightmare. "Mom?" Ben's voice trembled. The boy's exquisite innocence was fading, replaced with a dull look that chilled Sarah to her core. "Tommy doesn't want you here." The shadows dissolved into chaotic whispers, swirling around her like a powerful wind. Disembodied laughter came from everywhere and nowhere, filling the air with dread. A black shape lunged forward, blocking their path. A figure, cloaked in darkness, with eyes that glowed like coals smoldering in the embers of a dying fire. It stepped closer, the air thickening with its malice. "Leave them be, Sarah," it hissed, a voice dripping with malice. "They belong to us now." A surge of fury ignited within her. "No. They are my children." Sarah pushed forward, a desperate attempt to reach her son. She summoned every ounce of strength and courage, forcing her way past the roiling shadows. "We're leaving." As they moved, the cold fingers of darkness clawed at her. She felt their grip tightening, threatening to drag her back into the abyss. Time stretched as the silhouette blocked every path. The children's mournful faces blurred behind her, shrinking as if pulled away by an unseen hand. "They are safer with Tommy." The figure snarled. "Who are you? What do you want?" Sarah felt her resolve weaken, a sinking feeling washing over her, but she fought back. "You seek answers? You'll find them in despair, just like the others." The figure grinned, revealing rows of jagged teeth. "The stories you tell your children? We are their remnants, their echoes. You can't escape the truth." Trembling, she couldn't shake the feeling that the very walls were closing in, suffocating beneath the weight of loss and despair. Her heart raced, threatening to explode as she felt the ground shudder beneath her feet. Just then, something shifted in the dark. A flicker of light appeared at the end of the hallway, swelling like a beacon of hope amidst the crushing dread. "Over there, Mom." Ben pointed, his eyes searching with an innocent guile, igniting a fire within her. "Hold on tight." With one last push, Sarah grabbed Ben's hand and ran toward the light, the shadows clawing at her heels. The laughter faded, replaced with a fearsome roar that threatened to pull them back. With each step, she felt the deep, guttural promise of the darkness close in again. Would they find freedom, or would they plunge deeper into despair's grip? In that pivotal moment, just as they reached the light, a scream shattered the air, a scream that belonged to neither Sarah nor Ben, but to a child lost in the darkness. What truth awaited them beyond the threshold? Was escape even possible, or was it merely a path to reveal more sinister secrets? The light pulsed with a strange energy, illuminating the grotesque shapes and chilling whispers that chased them. As Sarah crossed the threshold into the unknown, the moment of clarity vanished. The light flickered once, and shadows collided with them, swirling and diving like ravenous wolves. She squeezed her son's hand, but the warmth she felt began to feel like a fading echo, an illusion that could slip away at any moment. Ben! Stay close! She shouted, her breath quickening as she scanned the eerie room now surrounding them. It was a vast chamber adorned with old, dusty toys strewn about, their laughter silenced, replaced with a heavy, oppressive silence. Dolls with cracked porcelain faces stared from the shelves, their painted eyes seemingly alive, watching her every move. "Where are we?" Ben whispered, his voice trembling. I don't know." The air grew thick and suffocating, wrapping around them like heavy chains. Sarah's heart beat fiercely in her chest, each thud echoing in the silence. "We need to find a way out." She dragged Ben through the sea of forgotten playthings, their forms twisted and grotesque. With every step, she felt eyes on them, 1,000 stares filled with despair. She pressed on, desperate to escape this nightmare, but the laughter returned, swirling around them, taunting. "Mom, listen." Ben tugged at her sleeve, eyes wide with fear. "Tommy's here." "Tommy? Who is Tommy?" "Tommy wants to play." Suddenly, the laughter crescendoed, morphing into something much darker, a sinister, mocking chant that filled the chamber. "Play with us, play with Tommy." The words slithered through the air like venom, binding them tighter in this suffocating experience. "What do you want?" Sarah yelled into the void, anger mixing with fear. A figure emerged from the shadows, slipping forward like liquid darkness. He wore a tattered shirt, dirt-streaked and buttoned to the collar. Tommy stood there, a glimmer of mischief in his eyes, but it was the unholy glee that sent a cold chill down Sarah's spine. He was one of the children, yet something about him was off, his mouth twisted into a grin that seemed more cruel than inviting. "Hi. I've been waiting for you," he said, the gleam in his eyes impossibly sharp. "You're just in time for the games." "No. We are leaving," Sarah insisted, swinging Ben behind her. "Leave us alone." But Tommy laughed, a sound so light-hearted it felt heavy with malice. "You can't leave. The games are just getting started." He raised an arm, gesturing wildly at the toys around them. "Join us. We only want to play." "Ben, run!" Sarah shouted, her instincts screaming at her to protect her son. But the moment she turned to grab Ben, she felt a pull, a tugging at her heart, the same sinister force keeping them bound to the chamber. The flickering light dimmed as if afraid of Tommy's presence, the creepy shadow-drawn figures of children repeating an ominous chant, reverberating off the walls. "Mom, I can't move," Ben cried, his eyes large and terrified, reflecting the growing darkness around them. "No. Fight it, Ben. We can get out. I want to let him take you." The sinister chant escalated, morphing into a frenzy of voices. "Join us. Join us." Sarah felt her will waning, the shadows crawling closer, enveloping her thoughts in a fog of fear and doubt. She looked into Ben's eyes, their innocence flickering like the dim light around them, and her heart clenched. Could she really protect him here? In a last-ditch effort, Sarah screamed, "You want to have him. I refuse to lose him." With that, she charged at Tommy, but the darkness surged forward like a wave, crashing over her with a force that knocked the air from her lungs. As she fell to the ground, she caught a glimpse of something, a flash of light ripping through the oppressive haze, a possible escape. But the shadows closed in, cloaking her vision in despair just as she felt a hand slip from hers. "Mom!" Ben's voice echoed, now distant and fading. The laughter returned, triumphant and cruel. Would she reach him in time, or had the darkness already claimed her son? What unseen horrors awaited there? Final confrontation with Tommy? Would Sarah's love be enough to save them both, or had there been a greater price to pay? The shadows twisted, consuming Sarah in a suffocating darkness. Ben's voice was now a fragile thread, fraying farther away. Panic surged through her veins. She clawed against the dark, struggling to find the thread of light she'd glimpsed earlier. "Ben!" she screamed, desperation fueling her. But the darkness choked her words, muffled them until they were mere whispers lost in the chaotic echo of the sinister laughter. The room lurched around her, and suddenly, it felt like she was standing in a blurry memory rather than a real place. The toys now danced with grotesque grace, their laughter morphing into howls of glee that grated against her nerves. The dolls, with their cracked faces, closed in, their eyes widening in expectant horror. "Play with us," they whispered, voices slithering into her mind like serpent fangs. "We need you to play." Her heart thudded painfully in her chest as a frantic thought clawed its way into her consciousness. What had happened to the children who once lived and laughed here? Were they trapped, doomed to replay the same sick games for eternity? She shook her head violently, refusing to succumb to whatever dark force was gripping the place. "I want to play," she shouted, the defiance barely masking her fear. Ben's cry pierced through the haze. "Mom! Please! Ben!" The sound pulled at her, a lifeline through the darkness. She pushed through the weight of dread, stumbling forward, searching. The flickering light deep within the chamber flickered again, erupting into a burst of raw brilliance that drew her closer. She could almost see a silhouette, shorter than hers, caught in a grip of despair. Through the chaotic shadows, she plunged ahead, praying she could reach him in time. "Tommy!" she roared, her voice slicing through the chuckling darkness. "What do you want?" Tommy stepped forward, his face lit with a ghastly grin, shadows curling along his edges. "The games they want to keep playing. You're the perfect new addition. Just like Ben. You'll fit right in." The revelation struck her, a bone-chilling clarity. He wasn't just playing, he was ensuring they were ensnared in this cursed game forever. A new wave of anger surged through her, and she strained against the shadows, the determination solidifying her resolve. "Stop it. Just leave us alone." But Tommy only laughed, the sound a discordant chorus with the other children's shrieks. "You can't leave. You belong here now." As his laughter echoed, something inside Sarah snapped. "I refuse to belong to this nightmare." With every ounce of will, she broke from the darkness's grip, lunging toward the flickering light. But before she could reach it, the figure of Tommy shifted, stretching impossibly thin, blocking her path. His grin widened, revealing rows of jagged teeth, each one glinting with a hungry light. Join the game, Sarah. In that moment, she saw them children, their faces pale, eyes filled with yearning. They reached out, their hands trembling, not for games but begging for release. Her heart shattered for the innocents trapped within this hell. "Ben!" she cried again, her voice cracking. The laughter faltered, the air grew still, but in its silence, a deeper darkness beckoned. Shadows surged forward like tendrils of smoke, grasping at her, pulling her back. "Help us!" the children wailed as one. "Help us escape. Together!" Sarah shouted, rallying her strength despite the engulfing terror. "We can break free." Then, with a burst of adrenaline, she lunged towards the last vestige of light, ready to fight against all odds. Would the children join her? Or would the darkness swallow them all whole, leaving nothing behind but the echoes of lost laughter? The blinding light enveloped Sarah as she surged forward, but the shadows clawed fiercely at her, dragging her back with an unyielding grip. The moment was suspended in a frigid slice of time, wrapping around her in icy tendrils. She gasped as their chilling whispers invaded her mind once more. "Stay with us, don't resist," they scoffed. Every syllable twisted like a blade. She clenched her fists, the urgency of Ben's cries pushing her forward. "No!" she gasped, the effort palpable in her raw throat. She felt the darkness press fiercely against her, like a wet blanket that smothered her hope. But the image of Ben, his wide eyes filled with fear, propelled her on. "Children! Listen to me!" she implored, desperation filling the space like a thick fog. "If we unite, we can break the chains. We can leave." Their anguished faces flickered, a mix of confusion and longing weariness lining their small features. For a heartbeat, the sinister laughter faded, replaced with the soft shudder of breath, a fragile pause in the ongoing chaos. Tommy stepped closer, the shadows swirling around him like a cloak. "Don't listen to her," he sneered, teeth glistening. "She's just trying to trick you. You'd be better off with us." The mention of freedom flickered in their eyes. A moment of hesitation passed, shimmering like a mirage in the darkness. Sarah seized it, desperation fueling her words. "You all want to escape. You deserve to be free." Suddenly, Ben's voice cut through the lingering shadows. "Mom!" His cry ignited a flicker of resolve within Sarah, forcing her to stand taller, shouting against the oppressive gloom. "Believe in yourselves. You aren't bound here forever." The children's faces shifted, the grip of darkness loosening like a slack string. "Help us," they urged, a newfound ember igniting in their expressions. Tommy's grin faltered, confusion scrambling his features. "No. You're wrong," he yelled, rushing toward Sarah, but she stood firm. "Together, we can fight. Break this curse," she shouted, feeling the energy surge around them like a tempest gathering strength. The children began to echo her chant, their voices blending, harmonizing with Sarah's hope. But the shadows, sensing their rebellion, grew more violent. They writhed and lashed like caged animals desperate to escape. Sarah felt their cold breath on her neck, as if the darkness was alive, angry at the uprising. Suddenly, the flickering light intensified, revealing a door shaped like a twisted arch. "That way," Ben urged, his voice roiling with urgency. "Run while you can." Without thinking, Sarah sprinted towards it, the children following, their small feet pounding behind her. The darkness howled. It clawed at them, lashes of shadow reaching out like grasping hands. They burst through the door, slamming it shut behind them. The suffocating darkness retreated, although Sarah could still feel its sinister presence lurking. "Are we safe?" one of the children whispered, eyes pinched with fear. "I don't know," Sarah breathed, panic rising in her throat. Suddenly, the very fabric of the new space shifted. The dimly lit hallway stretched out endlessly before them, doorways appearing and vanishing in quick succession. Each door bore the same twisted arch, identical to the one they had escaped. "Where are we?" Ben's voice trembled while Sarah's heart thundered. "Just, keep moving," she urged, but the certainty she once felt began to evaporate. The sound of the malicious laughter lingered, now echoing like a cruel memory inside the endless corridor. They ran deeper into the hallway, the shadows trailing close behind. The sense of déjà vu clawed at Sarah's mind. The sinister patterns of the dolls danced in her memory, and she felt the weight of the children's hope clashing with the ever-present threat looming behind them. "Mom, look!" Ben shouted, pointing forward. A faint light appeared at the end of the corridor, shimmering and beckoning them. But in that moment of hope, something shifted in the shadows, a shape far larger than any of them had anticipated, prowling behind them like a predator, hungry and waiting. "Run!" Sarah screamed, knowing that their escape was just the beginning of something far more terrifying. As they rushed toward the flickering light, Sarah's heart pounded. What awaited them on the other side? Would they uncover the truth or plunge deeper into the abyss? Each hurried step sent tremors of dread spiraling through Sarah's body. The flickering light ahead pulsed like an erratic heartbeat, a beacon in this labyrinth of despair. Children's feet pattered against the cold, hard floor, but the shadows lurked just behind, their whispers a vile chant growing louder with every moment. "Faster! Don't look back!" Sarah shouted, her voice strained, but her heart raced with fear. Ben's hand clutched hers tightly, his small fingers trembling. Ahead, the light flickered violently. It twisted like a flame caught in a tempest, flickering, shifting. With every glance behind, Sarah felt the shadows clutching at her again, reaching, pleading. "Stay with us," they hissed, their voices threading through her thoughts, trying to drown out Ben's cries. Emboldened, she pressed on, dragging the children with her. "We can't let them win," she urged, adrenaline fueling her legs. As they neared the glowing escape, a grounded thud echoed around them. The shadows recoiled, but beneath the spectre's retreat, something darker lurked. A shape emerged, grotesque and looming, its eyes like abyssal pits staring into her very soul. "Mom, I'm scared," Ben whimpered, the light illuminating his pale, frightened face. "I know, baby. But we have to keep going." Her voice strained against the overwhelming fear surging through her. They were almost there. The shape shifted, extending clawed fingers, a monstrous silhouette framed in darkness. "You think you can escape?" it growled. Its voice dripped with sinister amusement, a sound that seeped into Sarah's bones. "Run!" she screamed, as the shadow lunged forward. In an instinctive burst of will, Sarah threw herself towards the light, yanking Ben against her as they plunged in. Light enveloped them, relentless and white-hot, engulfing the darkness whole. They landed, tumbling out onto cool grass. Dazed, Sarah blinked. Sunlight poured down, warmer than she had remembered. Disoriented, she reassured herself they were free now. They had to be. Around them, an eerie quiet settled. They were definitely outside, yet something felt wrong. The trees loomed taller, their branches heavy, the leaves whispering secrets she couldn't decipher. "Where are we?" one child mumbled, glancing around nervously. "Stay close," Sarah commanded, but their safety felt fragile, a thin veneer that could crack at any moment. Suddenly, a figure emerged from behind a tree. Sarah's heart raced. Was it another shadow? "Help us," it wailed, voice mingling with the rustling leaves. The children froze, terror etching their faces. The figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face, twisted in sorrow, one of the other children who had been lost. Emily, her bright dress now muddied and tattered, appeared wraith-like, hair flowing around her like dark smoke. "Emily?" Ben gasped, stepping forward. "No. Don't." Sarah reached out, but the warning came too late. Ben's instinct to help overwhelmed her. "We can save you," he called, his youthful hope piercing the despair. But Emily's smile faded into a grimace. "You shouldn't have come here. You can't leave." An unnatural wind howled around them, chilling their bones. The ground trembled with each of Emily's words. Shadows slithered under the grass, reaching for them anew. "Ben, back!" Sarah shouted, pulling him away, but the sight of Emily's face, twisted in anguish, caused hesitation to grip her heart. What did she mean? "We can't leave." Ben's voice cracked, filled with confusion and fear. "Stay away from her," Sarah shouted, feeling the weight of the shadows bearing down again, heavier this time, like a storm gathering behind her. But something more sinister was unraveling beneath the surface, and until they uncovered the truth, their escape would remain a fragile illusion. Every whisper and unsettling glance from the trees felt like a warning of horrors yet to come. As they turned to flee back towards the fading light, the shadows surged forward, a wall of darkness closing in on them. "We've come too far," Sarah shouted, panic frothing in her throat. But behind them, Emily's voice lingered, echoing through the trees. "You'll only find pain here." What did they step into? It felt like they were trapped in a twisted dream, no, a nightmare. And the very shadows that haunted them had more power than they realized. Gripping Ben's hand tighter, Sarah prepared to run, her mind racing. What awaited them at the other end? Would they ever truly escape, or was this just the beginning of something much worse? The shadows pressed closer, swirling like thick fog, their intentions cloaked in malice. Sarah's breath quickened, her instinct screaming at her to flee. She pulled Ben tight against her, his small body trembling as he clung desperately to her side. The haunting whisper of Emily hovered in the air, a reminder that this place was no sanctuary. "Run!" Sarah urged, her voice sharp with panic. They darted into the dense thicket, branches snagging at their clothes like grasping hands. "Where do we go?" Ben gasped, glancing around, eyes wide with terror. "Just keep moving," she shouted back, her heart pounding. The weight of despair hung heavy in the atmosphere, a palpable force. Sarah felt the ominous presence behind them vibrating through the ground. They stumbled through the underbrush, the world around them growing darker, the sun a distant memory. The trees twisted into grotesque shapes, their gnarled branches stretching like claws in the fading twilight. Each crackling twig underfoot felt like a warning, every rustle a reminder of the horrors they had escaped. "Why would Emily say we can't leave?" Ben whispered, fear threading through his voice. Sarah opened her mouth to reassure him, but the truth felt too heavy to bear. They had barely escaped one nightmare, and now they plunged into another. A low growl resonated deep within the woods, echoing off the trees like a taunt. Sarah tightened her grip on Ben's hand, the urgency shifting to a raw frenzy. They couldn't allow whatever pursued them to catch up. Through the gloom, a clearing appeared, a brief moment of hope flickering in Sarah's chest. "This way." She pulled Ben forward. They broke through the last of the thicket and paused at the edge, eyes scanning for safety. But the clearing, once promising, revealed a shocking sight. A decaying playground lay beneath the shadows. Rusted swings swayed without wind, and a slide curving into darkness beckoned ominously. A chilling laughter echoed from nowhere, sending a ripple of ice down Sarah's spine. "Is this where the other kids went?" Ben questioned, his voice wavering. It felt wrong to be here. They could be hiding. "Ben, listen," Sarah said, her voice low and urgent. "We need to get out. This isn't safe." She turned to survey the perimeter, implicit danger looming from every corner. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Sarah's heart raced wildly, the tension taut like a drawn bowstring. Just then, movement caught her eye. From the shadows of the slide, a figure crept into the fading light. Another child? Sarah's stomach twisted in dread as the boy emerged, his face gaunt, eyes hollow. "Help us," he rasped, voice a dry whisper. "Mom!" Ben screamed, backing away. "I don't like this." "Stay close," Sarah commanded, her protective instincts igniting. She felt it, the overwhelming expectation that something terrible was about to unfold. This wasn't a rescue, it was a trap. "Join us." The boy persisted, inching forward, arms outstretched. Shadows writhed around him, dark tendrils swirling in hypnotic patterns. "We play forever, there's no pain here." The atmosphere thickened, smothering Sarah with a sense of impending doom. "No!" Sarah screamed, her voice resonating with unyielding horror. She clawed at Ben's arm, her instincts screaming to turn and run. But the boy stood there, a malevolent grin stretching across his skeletal face, a mirror of Emily's anguish. "Leave now before it's too late," he hissed, the shadows pulsating with his words, wrapping around Sarah and Ben like a suffocating cloak. Before she could think, she yanked Ben away, pulling him toward the darkened woods once again, but that voice followed them, chilling and relentless. "Pain awaits and it's never ending." As they sprinted, the laughter returned, spiraling into a cacophony of derisive chaos, puncturing the oppressive silence and drowning out Sarah's racing thoughts. "Where do we go?" Ben cried, struggling to keep pace. Fury surged through her. "We find a way out. We have to keep moving." But as they plunged deeper into the darkened woods, the shadows closed in, a constant reminder of the nightmare seeking to claim them. With each step, the very air around them felt charged, pulsating in rhythm with their racing hearts. The exit loomed just out of reach, but surrounded by taunting whispers and a pained gate, they were far from free. Behind them, one final echo drifted on the wind, you can never escape, not from us. What lay ahead felt uncertain, but retreat was not an option. They were trapped in a nightmare, and the end seemed to disappear into an ever-thickening fog of terror. Where could they turn when darkness beckoned from every side? As Sarah pushed forward, desperation clawing at her, she glanced back at the playground. A flicker of movement caught her eye, a swirl of shadows converging. "Ben, run!" The woods swallowed their sounds as they dashed deeper into the dark. Sarah's pulse raced, matching the pounding of her feet against the uneven ground. Each glance behind revealed only thick shadows swirling, taunting. An oppressive darkness clung to her skin, the weight of dread heavy, as if the very air was infused with malevolence. Ben lagged slightly, fear etched across his small face. "Are they coming?" he gasped, eyes darting around, searching for any hint of safety among the grotesque trees. "I don't know," Sarah shouted, pushing herself to be louder than the suffocating tension. "Just keep running. We have to find a way out." A flicker of energy surged through her as she gripped Ben's hand tighter, desperate to anchor him in this chaos. The ground sloped downward, each step sending them closer to the unknown depths of the forest. The path twisted, dark branches brushing against them like spectral fingers. She fought the urge to look back, to see if something truly pursued them. Instead, she focused on the rhythm of their flight, steady, pounding, fueled by primal fear. They stumbled into a clearing, bathed in an eerie glow from what little remained of sunlight. It was the remnants of a long-abandoned campsite, worn tents sagging under the weight of gathered dirt and leaves. Shadows flickered between the tents, and a chill snaked its way down Sarah's spine. "Can we hide?" Ben whimpered, looking up at her, tears glossing his wide eyes. "No," she said firmly. "We need to keep moving." Yet she hesitated, glancing back at the forest behind them. The shadows seemed to pulse, narrowing as if they were alive, intent on claiming them. "Why won't they leave us alone?" Ben's voice quivered, echoing the doubt that crept into Sarah's mind. Screams from the night echoed from somewhere deep within the trees, a cacophony of childish laughter mingled with cries. It wrapped around her like icy tendrils. "We must go, Ben." A flash of determination ignited within her, intermingled with sheer terror. They moved quickly, hurrying past the campsite, when suddenly, the laughter broke abruptly, replaced by a stillness so deep it roared in their ears. She could almost feel the shadows shift and breathe around them, the world tilting under the influence of something far darker than they had imagined. Ben tugged at Sarah's hand, eyes wide with something beyond terror. "I hear them," he whispered, voice quaking. "They're calling me." Sarah's heart dropped. "No. Ben, listen to me. That's not right." But a whisper slithered through the air, sweet and familiar, luring them with promises of play, of joy. "Ben, focus." Her command cut through the shadows like a desperate blade. The whispers grew sharper, taunting and menacing, wrapping around her mind. "Join us, little boy, we play forever, run." Sarah shouted again, yanking Ben forward, but a strange mist began to envelop them, slow and thick. The world darkened, shadows creeping closer, like predators closing in on their prey, hungry and relentless. Ben jerked back, his small frame pulling against her as his eyes glazed over with fear. "I want to go home," he cried out, desperation saturating his voice. Terror surged through Sarah, betrayal clawing at her heart. "We're almost there. Just a little longer." But as they pressed forward, the memories, the laughter echoed from the darkness. Each step felt heavier, as if the ground beneath them sought to sink them into despair. The closer they got to the forest's edge, the more distorted the shadows became, twisting, writhing like serpents ready to strike. In that moment, hope flickered a mere glimmer ahead. She could almost see the outline of a gap between the trees, a path leading back to the world of light. But then, the whispers grew louder, voices overlapping till they morphed into a jarring cacophony. "Stay with us, there's no leaving now." "No." Sarah screamed, ripping Ben away from the mesmerizing grip of the shadows. The ground jolted, as unseen tendrils reached for them, dragging at the hems of their clothes. They ran toward the brief glimmer of safety, but darkness clawed at their heels, relentless and hungry. Each footfall became a struggle against an unseen force, terror coiling tighter, choking her resolve. As they neared the faint light, Sarah glanced back one last time, her heart in her throat. Just beyond the edge of the trees, a figure emerged, a grotesque silhouette standing amongst the swirling darkness, eyes glowing with malicious intent. Nowhere to run, it wheezed, voice a sickening echo of the boy they had encountered. "Ben, hold my hand," she yelled, sealing their connection as they rushed toward Hope. What awaited them on the other side, she didn't know, but the shadows shrieked behind them, fury unleashed. Just as Sarah leaped toward the light, a hand shot out from the darkness, cold and sinister, grasping at her ankles. "You can't leave," the voice hissed, as the grasp tightened. As she fought to break free, she wondered if they would ever escape the nightmare that pursued them relentlessly. Were they destined to become part of the shadows themselves? The pull of darkness was relentless, wrapping around Sarah's ankle like a cold serpent. "Ben!" she screamed, her heart pounding, panic surging as she struggled against the unseen grip. Fear clawed at her throat, but she wouldn't give in. "Not now. Hold on tight." Summoning every ounce of strength, she pushed forward, desperate to escape the suffocating grasp of the shadows. Ben's small hand was like a lifeline, and as she pulled, the warmth of his grip ignited a flicker of hope within her. She felt the edges of her resolve sharpen, her will to survive igniting like a fire in the dark. "Mom!" Ben cried, his voice drenched in fear. I don't want to stay." "No one is staying," she shouted back, adrenaline coursing through her veins. With a fierce tug, she broke free from the icy fingers grasping at her just as the last flicker of light shimmered in front of them, pulsating like a heartbeat. "The light! We can make it!" With the shadows clawing at their backs, they sprinted toward the glow, the sound of laughter morphing into screams that echoed through the trees. "Keep running, Ben. Don't look back." Breaths came heavy, raw, but the light flickered brighter, igniting a surge of energy inside her. The oppressive darkness pressed against them, but determination surged. They were almost there. Relief mingled with terror, propelling them forward until, finally, they burst through the trees and into the warm embrace of the glow. They found themselves standing in a clearing bathed in golden sunlight. Just ahead, the familiar outline of Maplewood loomed, streets lined with cherry blossoms and the distant sound of laughter. But the momentary comfort was deceiving. As Sarah turned, panting heavily, the suffocating dread loomed behind them, a boiling mass of shadows, rage twisting in every direction, reaching until it could no longer stretch. "You can't escape," the dark voice echoed, chilling her heart. "Ben! We have to keep moving," she urged, her urgency parting the bushes with each desperate stride. But then, she noticed Ben didn't follow. He stood frozen, eyes wide, staring into the shadow-laden darkness stretching before them. "Ben?" Panic coursed through her as realization twisted within her gut. "Please, come on." "Mom, look!" he whispered, shock written on his face. She turned again, dread coiling tight in her chest. The darkness writhed, morphing into the spectral forms of children lost, anguished faces hovering in the shadowed outline. "Help us!" Emily's voice drifted forward, pleading and soft, drifting like a memory on the wind. Sarah's heart shattered for the children trapped in pain's grasp. "Ben!" she called, intentions torn between her love for her son and the haunting reality around them. "We can't help them. We have to go." "No. They need us." Ben shouted back, eyes wide and glimmering with innocence. "We can save them." "Ben, no." Desperation erupted inside her. "They're not real. They want to trap you. Come here." But Ben took a step forward, a small hand outstretched toward the shadows. "They just want to play." His voice trembled, filled with a longing that made Sarah's heart ache. The spectral figures loomed closer, shadows undulating around them. "Join us, little boy, there's no pain here, just play." "No!" Sarah screamed, her voice piercing through the weight of darkness. "Ben, you have to fight it." Clenching his fists, Ben's face contorted as he battled invisible chains. "Mom! I'm scared." Pain twisted like a knife in Sarah's chest. Struggling against helplessness, she rushed toward him, feeling the shadows close in like a vice. "Ben! Please!" But as she reached out, whispering promises of freedom, reality shifted. The shadows crested, wrapping around Ben, gripping him, pulling him back. "No!" She cried out, lunging forward as a wave of darkness consumed him. "Mom!" he shouted, voice strained and breaking. Time slowed, stretching out in an agonizing moment. But as shadows pressed tighter, determination ignited within Sarah. "We are not playing," she shouted. "You will not take my son." In an explosion of raw emotion, she surged forward, breaking through the grasp of shadows just enough to wrap her arms around Ben. A wave of light erupted around them, radiating warmth like the first burst of sun after a storm. "And we choose to leave." As the shadows writhed and screamed, the light pushed back, illuminating the clearing with brilliant warmth. Laughter morphed into cries of despair, fading into silence. With one final pull, Sarah and Ben stumbled through an altar of light, landing on the soft grass of Maplewood, free at last. The sun shone high in the sky, and the laughter of children echoed sweetly through the air once again. The warmth washed over them, filling the hollow places within. "Mom?" Ben looked around, bewildered but safe. "Are we free?" "Yes," Sarah breathed, relief flooding through her. "We're safe." As they turned to face the familiar streets of their beloved town, she realized they had not just escaped a nightmare, they had shattered a curse. Maplewood breathed a sigh of relief. The sun washed away the darkness, leaving only the memory of what once was. But she knew that the stories mingled with the laughter here. She would make sure her children understood, would gather the courage to talk about the darkness that circled life, not in fear, but in strength. "We'll tell the stories, Ben. We'll always stay in the light." They walked home, hand in hand, a bond forged stronger than any shadow, ready to embrace the living sunlight waiting for them. As the sun set, the skies blazed with hues of orange and purple, and Sarah turned to look at her kids, her heart full, hope greater than all shadows. The darkness was behind them now. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this chilling conclusion. Your engagement matters, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.